Our next objective is to draw our pool and spa and add a water feature to our spa. So we're going to head to the stage where we draw pools and spas. That is stage 5. Go to the top of the panel menu and left-click on the stage bar from the drop-down list. Choose stage 5, pools and spas. Go down to your pools and spas tab and left-click on pool. We'll draw the pool first and then draw the spa. The pool is going to be adjacent to the wood deck. But one of the things that will be helpful in drawing our pool is knowing that the pool shape that we draw is the wall of the pool. The system is going to add a 1-foot coping to your pool shapes. So that's an added value that we have to be aware of. When we zoom in to the wood deck, we're going to want to offset the pool 1 foot away from the wood deck to allow for that coping. Let's use the rectangle tool to draw a 32-foot by 14-foot rectangular pool shape. Go over to your toolbar, activate your rectangle tool. Now go to the top left-hand corner of the wood deck, but we're not going to left-click and begin drawing here because we know there's going to be 1 foot of coping around the shape that we draw. We're going to bring our cursor in 1 grid line diagonally, and that will make room for the 1 foot of coping where the wood deck and the patio are. I'm going to left click, bring my rectangle tool down 14 feet, and then I'll stretch it over to the left 32 feet. So when you get those dimensions in place, 32 by 14, left click to complete your shape. You'll see that added line around the shape that we drew, and that represents the 1 foot coping that all of our pools default to. Take a look at the Pools and Spas tab. Underneath Pool, you'll see the height of your pool. It's going to default to 0 feet, 0 inches. We're going to leave it at that height. Then we have our coping option. By default, the coping width is 1 foot. We can change that. We can add additional width or reduce the width. The parameters for coping are as small as 1 inch and as big as 2 feet. We'll leave ours at 1 foot. You can choose whatever lip style you like. You can left click on the drop down arrow, choose flush, square, round, or custom. When you click on custom, you'll have a custom profile button that you can click on, and the library will open to many additional lip styles that you can choose from. You can double click on any of these lip styles and have it applied to the pool. You can choose whatever you like. Below the lip style, you have your water level, waterline tile, and pool cove. I'm going to turn the waterline tile and the pool cove on. I'll go ahead and close that library up. And we'll go into the 3D environment and take a look at our pool in 3D. The pool looks great. But where I want to walk into the pool from the patio, I'm walking to the deep end of the pool, and I'd like for that to be the shallow end of the pool. So what I'm going to do is go back into 2D and invert the slope. I'll have the shallow end over on the right and the deep end over on the left where the spa is going to be. We have to be in 2D to work with that, so we'll go back into 2D. And your pool has to be selected. Left click on your pool to select it if it's not selected. And then come over to your panel menu. Below all the settings that we looked at, you're going to see pool slope settings. You have 2 options, multiple directions or single direction. Our pool is going in a single direction, so we'll click on single. When you're working with the pool slope and you click on single, you get a split screen. Top half of your screen is your pool and your grid. Bottom half of your screen is your slope profile. We're working primarily down in the bottom section. And when we want to change the depth, we left-click and select the depth marker. That's the red dot adjacent to the value. Left-click and highlight the point white. When it's white, it's selected. Now look over in your pool slope settings and look at the point height value box. We're going to set the point height to 3 feet 6 inches. Now we'll select the left point and set it to 6 feet 0 inches. Now we have the shallow end on the correct part of the pool and the deep end over where the spa is going to spill over with the tiered spillover. And that'll come next. We'll do that just as soon as we finish this. We'll go into 3D and check our slope. When you're in this mode and you go into the 3D environment, we're going to show you the pool without the water, and the graphics are just a little bit different. You can navigate, rotate, take a look at that a little bit closer. And if you want to see it without all the gray highlighting and the different graphics, you can deselect up at the top. Click it a couple of times and you'll be back to your normal view. All right, next is the spa. We're going to go back into 2D. The spa doesn't have a shallow and a deep end. It just has a depth. So it's a little simpler body of water. But we draw it the same way, and it has the 1-foot coping, just like the pool does. So we have to be aware of that when we draw it. Go to your Pools and Spas, and in your Pools and Spas tab, we were working with pool. Make sure your pool is not selected. Click on Spa. The next shape we draw will be a spa. Our spa is 7 feet by 14 feet. We'll use the rectangle tool and go to the top left-hand corner of the pool. Now our site reference is going to be the inside line of the pool. Remember, the outside line represents the coping. We're going to go to the corner, but I don't want to draw there. I'm going to go to the left 1 foot or 1 grid line, and that's going to be where I begin drawing. I'm going to left click and come down 7 feet. And then, I'm going to come down 14 feet and then over to the left 7 feet. So 7 by 14. Left click to complete your shape. I want the coping on the right to align with the coping on the pool. We'll add a spillover to the right side of the spa as well, but we need to look at our spa settings because the spa defaults to a different height than the pool. The pool was at 0, the spa is at 1 foot 0 inches. We're going to change that height just slightly. We'll change it to 0 feet 9 inches. So I'll reduce the inches over on the right side. The depth I'll leave at 3 feet. I want the coping on, and I want the width of the coping to be 1 foot. You'll also notice that the lip style is going to default to the lip style that you applied to the pool. And the waterline tile and the other settings will default to the pool settings as well. Next, we're going to insert our spillover. That's down at the bottom of the spa settings. Click on Insert Spillover, and your spillover will automatically attach to the selected body of water, whether it's a pool or a spa. Now your spillover needs a little direction. We're going to drag it to the middle of the right side of the spa. And actually, you'll notice when you're moving it, it will snap on to the middle of the spa. Left click and drop it in. Now we'll look at our spillover settings in the panel menu, and we'll set our spillover type under Object Settings. We have spillover, forward negative edge, tiered or reverse negative edge. We're going to choose tiered spillover. When you have tiered spillover applied, you'll have tiered spillover settings below that, like length. What do you want the length of your tiered spillover to be? We want a big tiered spillover. We're going to make it 8 feet 0 inches. Let's take a look at that in 3D. Looks really good. If you have your spillover added and you go into the 3D environment, or really any moving water has a sound. And as you get closer, you will hear the sound of the water. If you were doing a presentation for your client, you would want that sound to be realistic. So over in the panel menu, we have our sound volume settings, so you can adjust the sound so it is sounds like realistic spillover. When you're working and you don't want to hear the sound of the spillover, you can hide the water sounds. I'm going to hide my water sounds so that I don't have to talk over the splashing water. We'll go up to the top of our screen. We're looking for the hide and unhide. We're going to hide our water sounds. That's down at the bottom of your hide and unhide in your preview mode settings. Play sounds is one of the options that you can hide. I'm going to hide the sound. That way when I zoom in, I don't hear the splashing water. You can unhide if you are doing a presentation for your client, but actually the system will automatically unhide the water features when you are in presentation mode or when you make a video. So it kind of does that for you. Next, we need to add steps and benches to our pool and spa. We'll go back into 2D and go to the next stage. The next stage is stage 6, steps and benches. Steps and benches have their own stage. And steps and benches have an auto pool steps builder that makes steps for us. As long as the steps mirror the shape of the pool, we can use the auto pool steps builder. Works a lot like the Create Staircase feature did back when we were working in hardscapes. When you click on auto pool steps, the system puts a little step on your cursor and you attach it to where you want steps from in the pool. We're going to add steps to the right side of the pool. So you might want to zoom in a little bit there. Go to your Steps and Benches tab. Click on Auto Pool Steps. When you activate Auto Pool Steps, step options appear below. We want a standard, normal set of steps. Now when I bring my cursor over, I'm going to have a little step attached to my cursor. I drag it to the right side of the pool. It snaps on to the wall of the pool, and I'm just going to center it. Doesn't have to be exact. Left click and drop it in. Because there's a slope there, the pool building tool calculates how many steps we need. The auto pool steps builder calculates how many steps we need to get to the bottom of the pool. We need 3. And we need those steps to stretch all the way across the width of the pool. Of course, we have our modification points that we can work with to make that happen. But remember, the outer points work differently than the inner points. We saw this with our hardscape stair building tool as well. The outer points move independently like this. That's not what I want. I want to stretch the entire side so it is even with the top of the pool. I use the point touching the pool wall, and that will stretch those steps on that side. Left click and drag to the corner, and do the same with the bottom right hand point. Left click and drag down to the corner, and we'll have the steps going all the way across. Next, we'll set the height and the width of our pool steps. Go over to your panel menu and look for your step options. We set our step to standard normal steps. The height is the rise. We're going to set that to 1 foot 0 inches. When you're working on, you'll set that to whatever height you build your steps. The width is the tread or the distance across the top. I'm going to set that to 1 foot 6 inches and make that width a little bit bigger, that tread a little bit bigger. Below that, you'll see step count. The system is suggesting and applying a 3-step count there, 3 steps, and that's really quite accurate, so we'll leave it at that. Now, one more thing I want to do is make the top step a little bit bigger, more like a shelf or a landing. I'm going to use the midpoint on that step to stretch that step. With your Move tool, left-click on the midpoint of the top step. Drag it to the left and you'll see a measurement. We want to drag it until we're at 6 feet, 0 inches. Now my steps are configured the way that I want. I'm looking at my height and my width and my step count. Everything looks great. I need to go down to the bottom of my auto pool step options, and this is something that you want to do consistently when you're working with the auto pool steps builder. We need to convert this to step shapes. So at the bottom of the step options, look for the convert to steps. Think of it like this, guys. This is a pool step building tool, but we need those shapes cataloged as steps and benches for our data. So I'm going to convert to steps. Now you'll see that each one of these is a step shape. So if I left click on either one of those steps, I'll see the settings in my panel menu under steps and benches. And my auto pool steps settings are no longer there. So you only want to convert once you've used your auto pool step building tools for all intents and purposes, right? So you want to make sure everything looks right before you convert. Then once you convert, you can look at the settings for your steps and benches under the Steps and Benches tab. I'm going to go into 3D and show you how to check your work in 3D. Steps look great. I'm going to double click on the top and see what the depth is. I want the depth of the top step to be 1 foot 0 inches. So I'm checking my panel menu to make sure that depth is accurate. I can also add trim tile to any of my steps. We can add a band of trim tile or accent pieces or none. Choose whatever you like. The second step, I want the depth to be 2 feet 0 inches. And the third step, 3 feet 0 inches. Everything looks good. And I didn't have to draw anything because I used the Auto Pool Steps Builder. Let's use it one more time on the spa. We'll create a bench that wraps around the entire parameter of the spa, and we'll use the Auto Pool Steps Builder because Auto Pool Steps Builder not only makes steps, but benches too. So let's go back into 2D and I'll show you how that works. We'll zoom into the spa, activate the Auto Pool Steps Builder. We just want normal standard steps. It should default to that. Now we'll bring our step over and attach it to the inside wall of the spa, really anywhere. You're going to move your cursor so that your cursor touches the wall. That's when the shape will connect. Now left click and drop it in. Probably won't calculate many steps here because we don't have a lot of depth. We'll use the points that are touching the spa wall to stretch this all the way around. And if you watch my screen, you'll kind of know what to expect. I'm going to left click and drag this up and then keep going. I'm going to turn the corner and drag it all the way around every corner. I'm just left clicking and dragging all the way around. Kind of looks like it has to reconfigure things when it goes around the corner. And then when it gets to the other side, it connects and creates one bench. It's programmed to do that. So any spa shape that you want this kind of wraparound bench, whether it's circular spa, freeform spa, rectangular spa, you can add these benches using the Auto Pool Steps Builder. Now we look over at our step options. Height doesn't apply because height would be the distance between each step. We can skip that. Width is the distance across the top, so that would be seat room. We'll leave that at 1 foot 6 inches. Now I go down to the bottom where it says convert to steps. Even though this is a bench, we still need to convert. Click on convert. Once you've converted, you'll see your selected shape up in your steps and benches. The depth is referencing how far that shape is from the top. We'll go into 3D and take a look at it. I'm going to set mine down a little further, so I'm going to set the depth to 1 foot 6 inches. And just remember, you can add trim tile and accent trim pieces if you want to. So we're finished with steps and benches. We're going to go back into 2D. The spa is the last shape that we have to draw in the design phase. So if you go to the top of the panel menu and left click on the drop down arrow, you're going to see all of the stages in the design phase. Stages 1 through 9 are considered the design phase. That's where we draw all of our core shapes. So we've actually worked in every stage. Now that we have all of our shapes drawn, we're going to go to stage 10, materials, and apply the correct materials. Click on materials. When you click on materials, it takes you into the 3D environment. There's really no need to go into 2D. In fact, if you look in your panel menu, you don't have any drawing tools. You have quick selection, which is a great way to quickly select common objects, like all house shapes or all coping, tile, pool interior, hardscapes, risers on your hardscapes, planters, and walls and fences. Quick selection will select the shapes that you've drawn in those stages. Over on the left side of your screen, you have a large material library. It's separated into 2 categories. In the materials library, you have brick at the top, down to wood. The darker gray indicates that we have that those are a separate kind of material. Those would be what we call generic materials. There's not a manufacturer tied to these samples. Down below, we have artistic pavers, barrier reef, cliff rock, etc., all the way down to wet edge. That lighter color category is going to be a list of all of our manufacturers. Those are manufacturers that we've partnered with that want their materials in our library. So you have extra materials here to choose from. Below that, you have currently used, favorites, and history. Currently used is really great for matching if you're working on a project and then coming back to it, and you can't remember exactly what category the material was in, but you want to apply it again, you're going to find it under currently used. It's going to show you the list of materials that you've currently applied to this project. Favorites is any of the materials that you've marked as your favorites, and I'll show you how to do that. History is just what you've used recently. Let's start putting new materials on. We have to select the material or select the shape that we want to apply material to. You can double left click on a shape independently, or you can use quick selection. Let's use quick selection. We'll left click on Houses and select all of our house shapes. You'll see them highlighted in the 3D environment. Now we go over to our material library and we're looking for a material that matches our client. We're going to go to Stucco. Left click on the drop-down list and see the subcategory list of stucco. Let's choose Smooth. Now we have several options to choose from. To apply the material, double-click on the thumbnail. You can choose whatever you like. And you can double-click again to replace it. So you just continue double-clicking until you find the color or the style that you like. I'm going to do dark tan, stucco. Each one of those thumbnails has a gray star at the top right-hand corner. If you are looking at a material that's really common where you are, or it's something that you use a lot, you can mark that as your favorite by left-clicking on that gray star, giving it a gold star, takes a copy of that material, and puts it down in your favorites. It's a great way for you to kind of itemize all of your go-to materials in one space. So if you consistently do that, you'll have a nice little go-to library of all of your favorites down at the bottom. I'm going to uncheck Smooth and close that drop-down list. That's a really good habit to get into. If you leave all of your subcategories open, it gets a little overwhelming. That library is quite large. Next, I'm going to apply material to my hardscapes, and I'll apply the same material to all of them. So I'll use Quick Selection. Below Houses, you're going to see Hardscapes. That's going to select all of the shapes that you drew in the hardscape stage. Let's go to the concrete category at the top of the materials list. Left-click on the drop-down arrow, and we'll choose the brushed subcategory. And I'm going to double-click on the tan. Oh, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to double-click on the cream. That looks great. You can double-click on whichever color or type of material you'd like to apply. I'll uncheck Brushed, close that drop-down list. The next thing I'm going to do is apply material to my coping. I'm going to my Quick Selection, clicking on Coping. Everything that I drew that has coping will be selected now. I'm going to go to the library and go to the coping category up at the top. It has its own category right up there. It says Coping. Lots of options under Coping. I'm going to go to the Stone option. Find one that I like. Double-click and apply that coping. You can choose, again, whatever you like. Just remember when you're finished, and this isn't a rule, I'm just suggesting that this is a good habit to get into. Just want to keep closing those subcategory lists so you're not overwhelmed with long lists of things. Back over in Quick Selection, we have applied material to our houses, our coping, our hardscapes. Next to hardscapes, you have risers, because when we applied material to the hardscape, it was only referencing the top side of the hardscape. If you have a hardscape that is set to a height, the facing is exposed. And when you click on risers, that selects those surfaces. Let's put a stacked stone on our risers. Over in the library, you're looking for the stone category. Left-click on the drop-down arrow and choose Stacked Stone. Now we're just finding a stacked stone that we like. Double-clicking, and you'll see the stone applied wherever you have a riser. Now leave that category open because I'd like to apply that same stacked stone to my fire feature. Zooming in on my fire feature, double-clicking on the bottom piece. If I want to include the top piece in my selection and apply material to both of those shapes at the same time, I can hold my Control key down and left-click on the top piece. That's a fast way to select multiple shapes. Now I'm going to double-click on the same stone and apply that to my fire feature. You can put any material on any shape that you select. In your quick selection, right next to hardscape, we looked at risers, then we have planters and walls and fences. Above that, interior is a great way to put the correct material on the interior of your pool, your spa, and your steps and benches. So basically, anything on the interior of the pool can be quickly changed by clicking on the button that says Interior. Now, everything inside the pool and spa is selected. I'll go to my pool interiors. So in the materials library, we have a category just for pool interiors. But there are many other pool material applications down in the manufacturer list as well. We'll go to the generic pool interiors. And I'm going to go to regular pebble, but you can choose whatever you want. I'm double-clicking and applying a different material. Clear and close that drop-down list. So you can put any material on your wall, roof, house trim, wood deck, anything. Oh, speaking of wood deck, I've got a ramp that I need to update the finish on. I want that ramp to match the material of this deck. And because that deck already has the material applied, that material is going to be in my currently used down at the bottom of the library. Open your currently used. They're in alphabetical order. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see wood. Okay, I'm going to double click and apply that chestnut material so that it matches my wood deck.